repatriation efforts of other nations. Health Ministry mulls random COVID-19 tests among residents in red zones. Good afternoon, I'm Amin Carlos and welcome to Updates at Noon. Well, Malaysia has welcomed the efforts of other nations to repatriate their citizens stranded in this country. Well, Senior Minister for Security Cluster, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob, said there should be a need their diplomatic representatives here can discuss repatriation matters with the Foreign Ministry.
Dan kita juga sebenarnya mengalu-alukan kalau ada di antara negara-negara tersebut, negara-negara luar yang ingin membawa pulang rakyat mereka yang stranded di Malaysia ini. Seperti yang kita lakukan selama ini. Ramai rakyat kita yang stranded di luar negara.
Briefing reporters at the Daily Movement Control Order MCO media conference yesterday, he also hoped the diplomatic representatives in Malaysia would be able to take care of their citizens' welfare throughout the MCO period. Well, Malaysia will look into the possibility of deferring its public holidays for the Hari Raya Aidilfitri celebration, which is what Indonesia has done in view of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, the government will decide whether the holidays are to be rescheduled after getting views from the minister in the Prime Minister's Department in charge of religious affairs.
Menteri Agama akan bincang bukan saja dari segi raya tetapi juga dari segi sembahyang tarawih dan sebagainya, semuanya akan diputuskan oleh menteri yang menjaga agama ni.
This comes as Malaysia reported 36 new COVID-19 cases, the lowest number since the Movement Control Order, the MCO, began on 18th March and no deaths since 17th March. The first day of Ramadan for Malaysia is expected to fall on 24th April and Hari Raya Aidilfitri is likely to be celebrated on 24th to 26th May. The Health Ministry, MOH, is considering carrying out COVID-19 infection tests in the community, especially in red zones. Health Director General, Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah, said the study involves screening local residents to gauge the antibody of individuals who had been infected by COVID-19.
Kalau mereka terdedah kepada virus tersebut, maka dalam tempoh seminggu akan terbina dia antibody iaitu IgM dengan IgG. Dan kalau kita lihat, kita nak tahu berapa ramai di zon merah contohnya yang telah dijangkiti tetapi tidak dikesan contohnya lah. So, jadi ini mungkin satu kajian yang baik yang boleh kita pertimbangkan dan mungkin masa yang sesuai untuk kita melaksanakan ujian tersebut.
At the daily COVID-19 media conference yesterday, Dr. Nur Hisham said with the test kit, only 1 drop of blood is needed to check for antibody. However, he explained that the test is not for diagnosis but to know the number of people in the community who had been infected by COVID-19. He said the study also required the close cooperation of the private sector to ensure the information gathered is the latest and all appropriate actions were taken. Earlier, virologist Professor Dr. Sazali Abubakar had proposed that MOH gauge infection in the community by detecting the presence of antibody on the people randomly nationwide before the Movement Control Order MCO ends. Well, the people can carry out self-health evaluation from time to time via free application MySejahtera, launched by the government yesterday. The Health Minister, Dr. Adham Baba, said the application developed to assist in monitoring COVID-19 also gives guidelines to those classified as at risk in the outbreak. He said the application is on par with the technology used by advanced countries and MySejahtera has been tested via pioneer projects at several locations in Malaysia.
MySejahtera telah diuji menerusi projek rintis yang dilaksanakan di beberapa lokasi di Malaysia. Dapatan daripada projek rintis itu amat memperangsangkan dan dengan itu mendorong kita untuk memperluaskannya ke seluruh negara.
He said this when speaking at the soft launch of MySejahtera in Putrajaya. He added the people can obtain the latest and verified information on the development of COVID-19 in Malaysia, ASEAN and the world via the application. Therefore, Dato' Sri Dr. Adham hoped MySejahtera would assist the people to be more alert of the current situation during the COVID-19 pandemic and strengthen the effort of the government, especially the ministry, to formulate strategy in the combat against the outbreak. Members of the public can download MySejahtera application via the Gallery of Malaysian Government Mobile Applications, GAMA, Apple Store, Google Play Store and Huawei App Gallery. MySejahtera was developed with the strategic cooperation of the National Security Council, Health Ministry, the Malaysian Administrative Modernisation and Management Planning Unit, or MAMPU, and the Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission, MCMC. The Federal Agricultural Marketing Authority, FARMA, has aided 1,120 farmers to market their produce and overcome dumping of their harvest since the Movement Control Order, the MCO, began on 18th March until last Sunday. Deputy Agriculture and Food Industry Minister Dr. Sri Ahmad Hamzah said the farmers sold their produce to 45 Controlled Fresh Market or PSC outlets, 321 Agro Bazaar Kedai Rakyat or AKR, and 115 Agro Bazaar Rakyat or ABR, operating throughout the country for 6.85 million ringgit. He said 1,420 entrepreneurs under FARMA were also involved to ensure the supply of food reaches consumers, who also made orders for 38,091 deliveries.
Kerana kita nak lihat tidak ada lambakan, tidak ada masalah petani-petani yang tidak boleh menjual barangan mereka. Bahkan mereka seharusnya menggunakan pusat operasi FARMA yang ada di seluruh negara, ada 17 semua. Dan berhubung dengan mereka kalau ada masalah pasaran.
He added the issue of dumping which took place were isolated cases and appropriate measures were taken to assist all farmers to protect their interests. He said this after visiting Farmers Operation Center in Seremban yesterday. Dato' Sri Ahmad said from 18th March to 19 April, PSC outlets recorded 10 million ringgit in sales, while AKR grossed was 4 million ringgit and ABR generated 3.7 million ringgit. He said FARMA is also improving its food distribution during MCO, and it is streamlining its online and offline sales via agro bazaars and selected network outlets. Well, updates at noon continues here with 20 individuals were held in several police raids during the implementation of the Movement Control Order MCO held in Johor. Now, State Police Chief Dato' Ayub Khan Dipercayai said the first raid was at a homestay in Masai at about 11:30 p.m. with the arrest of 4 men, all non-occupants aged around 27. Then Dato' Ayub said the second raid at an apartment unit in Johor Bahru early Sunday morning, while police arrested 5 men and 2 women between the ages of 21 and 26 and seized drugs believed to be ketamine weighing 0.5 grams. Now, 4 of them were positive for ketamine and 2 others for methamphetamine, and 2 of those arrested had drug-related criminal records. Well, it said explaining that they were not occupants of the premises. Dato' Ayub said the third raid was conducted at a homestay in Johor Bahru Baru at 1 a.m. Monday, and police arrested 9 individuals, including 6 men and 3 women aged 18 to 25. Well, it said the results showed that 5 of them were positive for ketamine and THC, and 2 had previous criminal and drug-related offences, adding that all of them were now remanded for investigation. Personnel from the 9th Battalion of the General Operations Force, or PGA, arrested a man and seized 140,000 pills, believed to be Yaba pills worth 1.4 million at Kubang Pa'ali near Bakong, Pasir Mas, Sunday morning. Now, police also seized a Proton Persona car the man was driving at about 10:30 a.m. Kelantan Police Chief Dato' Hasanuddin Hassan said during the incident, 4 PGA personnel in a 4-wheel drive vehicle had spotted the grey car being driven in a suspicious manner. He said they followed the car from Kampung Simpangan, Tumpat to Jalan Perda, Pasir Mas, before stopping the vehicle at Kubang Pa'ali.
Di mana di dalamnya terdapat 70 bungkusan plastik luksina berisi pil-pil kemerahan dan kehijauan yang kita syaki ianya dadah jenis pil yaba.
He said this to reporters at the Pasir Mas District Police Headquarters yesterday. The 27-year-old local man from Rantau Panjang verbally admitted to having dual citizenship. He, however, tested negative for drugs and had no previous criminal record. Dato' Hasanuddin said police also confiscated 1,805 ringgit cash, 8,050 Thai baht amounting to 1,084 ringgit, and a Tissot watch worth 500 ringgit. The case will be investigated under Section 39B of the Dangerous Drugs Act 1952. The man had been remanded for 7 days from yesterday until 26 April to facilitate investigations. Well, in the meantime, police believe they have crippled a Ketum juice syndicate after the arrest of 5 men and seized a total of 900 litres of Ketum juice in 1,800 packets in a raid at a 2-story house at Taman Iping, Batu Maung on Sunday. Now, Balai Pulau District Police Chief Superintendent A. Anbalagan said police, acting from a tip-off about people gathering during the Movement Control Order, MCO, arrested the 5, aged from 19 to 25. He said when police raided the house at 1 a.m., the suspects tried to avoid arrest by running into the house.
Hasil pemeriksaan di dalam rumah tersebut telah menahan 5 lelaki berumur antara 19 hingga 25 tahun dan telah menjumpai 1,800 bungkus cecair disyaki cecair mitraginin dan peralatan memproses air ketum.
Briefing reporters at Balai Pulau Police Headquarters, Superintendent Anbalagan said the syndicate is believed to have been operational since 2 months ago. He said the Ketum juice was believed to be meant for distribution at the Bayan Baru and Bayan Lepas areas and worth around 9,000 ringgit. All the suspects have been remanded until 22nd April for further investigations. The case is being investigated under Section 30, Subsection 3, Poison Act 1952, under Regulation 11, Subsection 1, and Regulation 6, Subsection 1 of the Prevention and Control of Infectious Disease Regulations 2020 and Section 269 of the Penal Code. U.S. adding 75 million barrels of oil to National Reserve amid price drop.
Semakin berusia, kepadatan tulang mungkin semakin berkurangan sehingga 20%. Minumlah Enlin Gold dengan MFGM Active, protein dan kolagen. Nutrisi baik dan senaman menyokong fleksibiliti dan kekuatan. Enlin Gold dirumus secara saintifik.
And the foreign news now, U.S. President Donald Trump said Monday the U.S. would take advantage of the historic drop in oil prices to buy 75 million barrels to replenish the national strategic stockpile.
And based on the record low price of oil that you've been seeing, it's at a level that's very interesting to a lot of people. We're filling up our national petroleum reserves, the strategic reserves. And we're looking to put as much as 75 million barrels into the reserves themselves.
Trump told reporters this at his daily coronavirus press conference. Oil prices crashed into negative territory Monday after coronavirus lockdowns around the globe shriveled demand as U.S. demonstrators once again took to the streets in several state capitals, demanding the reopening of the world's #1 economy. The question of when to lift stay-at-home orders and thus help mitigate the devastating economic effects of the global virus crisis has been at the forefront for many countries. Well, police fought running battles in at least 5 suburbs of Paris overnight with residents who accuse officers of using heavy-handed tactics to enforce France's strict COVID-19 lockdown. Now, residents burnt cars and shot fireworks at police, who responded with rubber bullets and tear gas in the northern suburbs of Villeneuve-la-Garenne and Aulnay-sous-Bois. Now, the violence began on Saturday when a motorcyclist was injured during a police check-in in Villeneuve-la-Garenne, prompting a crowd to gather. And a police statement said the group targeted officers with projectiles in a near 2-hour standoff. Now, the motorcyclists crashed into the open door of a police car and required surgery for a broken leg. Now, residents alleged the door was opened deliberately so that the rider would smash into it. Now, the 30-year-old will lodge a complaint against the officers, his family, and a lawyer told AFP, while prosecutors have opened an investigation. There were also standoffs in nearby Aulnay-sous-Bois, where police claimed they were ambushed by residents in a district of dense high-rise social housing of mainly immigrant occupants. Police said they arrested 4 people after being targeted by residents using fireworks as projectiles. Meanwhile, France on Monday officially registered more than 20,000 deaths from the coronavirus, becoming the 4th country to pass that threshold after Italy, Spain, and the United States. And the pace of increase in fatalities and infections sped up again after several days of slowing. Well, 547 new COVID-19 deaths were recorded, even as tentative signs grew that the epidemic was steady. Now, France's public health chief, Jérôme Salomon, told a news briefing that the death toll was now at 20,265, while welcoming new falls in the numbers in hospital and intensive care. Now, he said the number of people in intensive care had fallen for the 12th consecutive day to 5,683, the lowest since March 31st, suggesting the national lockdown is having positive effects in containing the disease. Cash-strapped airline Virgin Australia says it had gone into voluntary administration, making it the largest airline to collapse under the shock of the COVID-19 outbreak. In an announcement to the Australian Stock Exchange, or the ASX, Virgin said it planned to keep operating flights despite handing over the keys to administrators. Now, CEO Paul Scurra, in a statement today, said the decision was about securing the future of the Virgin Australia Group and emerging on the other side of the COVID-19 crisis. Now, the airline was more than $5 billion Australian dollars in debt and had appealed for a $1.4 billion loan to stay afloat, but the government refused to bail out the majority foreign-owned company. Now, the airline said 4 insolvency experts from accounting firm Deloitte had been appointed as administrators. Now, Virgin had already stood down 8,000 of its 10,000 staff, suspended all international routes, and scrapped all bar one of its domestic routes after Australia shut its borders to limit the spread of COVID-19 and impose tough restrictions on movement. Amazon will keep its 6 warehouses in France closed until at least Wednesday as a row about sanitary conditions continues. Unions say that workers in the company's packaging centers are not being kept safe during the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, last week, a French court ordered Amazon to restrict deliveries to non-essential items while checks were carried out. A global demand for online deliveries had skyrocketed as many countries closed shops to comply with COVID-19 lockdowns. Amazon workers have raised concerns about their health and working conditions in Europe as well as in the U.S., claiming it is almost impossible to practice social distancing. Now, the company says its guidelines are adequate and that it provides employees with face masks. On Tuesday, a court ruled that it must limit deliveries while an investigation takes place into whether it is taking sufficient precautions to protect its staff. It followed legal action by the French union group Solidaires Unitaires Démocratiques, or SUD, which claimed that more than 100 Amazon employees were forced to work in close proximity to each other. Well, the court said Amazon had, quote-unquote, failed to recognize its obligations regarding the security and health of its workers. Amazon says it has presented evidence of compliance and that it will appeal the court's decision. Investigators scoured crime scenes from the worst mass shooting in Canadian history Monday to determine why a dental worker with no criminal past killed at least 18 people. Now, the gunman, identified by police as 51-year-old Gabriel Waterman, began his rampage Saturday night in the seaside village of Portapique, Nova Scotia, dying 14 hours later in a hail of police gunfire 100 kilometers away outside Halifax. The Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, said the death toll, initially put at 16, rose to 18 on Monday, with police warning that more bodies could be found. And among the victims were a veteran constable with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, a nurse, an elementary school teacher, and a retired firefighter. He evoked communities in mourning and said the whole of Canada was mourning with them. A national virtual vigil will be held this week to honor nearly 20 victims of Canada's deadliest shooting, which unfolded in Nova Scotia as the province was locked down due to COVID-19. Serie A commits to finishing season after virus lockdown. Well, Serie A insisted Monday that they were committed to finishing the season despite reports 7 clubs are against a return to action as the coronavirus pandemic continues to afflict Italy. The Lega Serie A Council that met Monday unanimously confirmed its intention to complete the 2019-2020 season if the government allows it to take place. Now, Italy's top flight said in a statement that any resumption will take place in accordance with regulations laid out by FIFA and UEFA and the Italian Football Federation, or FIGC, and in compliance with medical protocols to protect the players. Well, according to reports in Italy, Brescia, Torino, Sampdoria, Udinese, Spal, Genoa, and Sardinian outfit Cagliari do not want to play because of the incalculable risk of restarting. Now, 6 of those clubs are situated in the north of Italy, which has been hardest hit by a virus which has killed over 24,000 people. Now, no football has been played in Italy since March 9th, with the current lockdown measures in the country extended to May 3rd. Sports Minister Vincenzo Spadafaro will meet with FIGC officials midweek, but he warned he was not sure that Serie A teams can even resume training. Atletico Madrid has allowed the kitchens of its Wanda Metropolitano Stadium to be used to prepare meals for families most vulnerable to economic effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, the kitchen's central production unit has more than 1,000 square meters and can facilitate the preparation of 1,000 to 50,000 meals per day. Now, the stadium's kitchens are equipped with 22 high-capacity industrial ovens and a refrigeration area that allows food to be cooled quickly once cooking is complete in compliance with food safety guidelines. Isabel Diaz Ayuso, president of the Community of Madrid, has announced an agreement with the Atletico Madrid Football Club to use the kitchens of their stadium, the Wanda Metropolitano, to prepare meals for families vulnerable to the COVID-19 pandemic. And a drive-through coronavirus testing center has been set up in a car park of Twickenham Stadium, the home of the England rugby team. The facility appears ready to receive patients to help reach the government's stated goal of processing 100,000 COVID-19 tests per day by the end of April. Twickenham has become the latest major sports stadium in Britain to be given a role in the fight against the coronavirus. The southwest London headquarters of English Rugby Union will play host to a drive-through coronavirus testing facility that is part of the British government's nationwide effort to increase testing for thousands more National Health Service staff and other key workers. It will operate on an appointment-only basis for those specific groups of workers, with the facility running as a pilot scheme for its first few days of operation. So far, 32 testing sites have been opened across the country with the aim of providing additional swab tests which can identify if someone has the virus. And that's it from us this afternoon. In our top story, Malaysia welcomes repatriation efforts of other nations. News on 2 comes on at 7 this evening. I'm Carlos. Stay safe, everyone. And from all of us here, thanks for watching and thank you for staying at home.